Thomas Ewell came by, see me the other day. He's writing a Hood County history. You knew that, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd heard that. I sure had. Yeah.
Well, he asked me if we'd be willing to talk to him about his history so he could include us in there. So what do you think?
Well, I'm not one to talk about myself, and neither are you. We never have been. But by the same token, if he's writing a book and he wants us to be a part of that history, I'd rather he get the information from us than from hearsay and maybe from folks that don't think too highly of us. So I'd say yes, that we would want to go ahead and talk with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we ought to start with just some of the basic kind of stuff,
Right.
don't you think?
I think you just start with the basics, yeah,
Okay.
and just give him a little information about background.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think that's right. I'll tell him what we'll tell him, and we'll get some, with him back on the dates and all that kind of stuff better as we go. But we're going to tell him that we were born in Bedford County, Tennessee.
Right.
And we moved with our parents and the Landers to Neosho, Missouri, which is where we really were young men in
Right.
that area. And don't you remember you were reading law there?
That's right. Yeah.
With Uncle Abe.
Yeah, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you wanted to be a doctor,
That's right.
and I was reading law. Back in those days, they read law, in the office of a lawyer, and so I was reading some law in Uncle's office.
Yeah. And then we got to tell them, they're going to want to know, Thomas is going to want to know, because people are always asking, how did you guys get blind?
Oh,
What
yeah.
happened?
That's the first question. That's a tough subject to talk about, frankly. But they'll want to know that, so you got to give him the insight on what happened that caused us to both go blind.
Well, I was working down by the river, and I had that fire that broke out.
There in Neosho, yeah.
And I came up, got you to come down there and help us to move the widows and the orphans out of the way of the fire.
Right. Yeah. That's a very threatening fire that was destroying the property down there on the riverfront. And so you and I were down there, along with some others, helping rescue those adults and their children from the fire that was consuming that area. And it turns out that we were exposed. And you want to tell that part?
Well, they never did really say for sure, but I think what I've always thought is that some of those kids had smallpox.
Right.
And it wasn't too long after that fire that we were both wound up just blind.
Yeah, just as blind as we could be. And it was, of course, back in those days, smallpox was a vicious disease and caused a lot of deaths. But in this case, it caused the blindness of you and me. And so that kind of changed our lives. Needless to say, I was going to study law and you were going to be a doctor. But all of those things back in that era were closed to us as a result of our physical ailments.
That's right. And you hadn't been married very long.
No, Lizzie and I had married about a year or so prior to that, and she was with me through all the thick and the thin of all those things. But we pulled through it and moved forward, and we had some education that allowed us to be able to do some things, and so that's what we did. We decided, didn't we? And this is what it was next. I think was we decided to come to Texas.
That's right.
Yeah. We'd heard a lot about Texas, beautiful Texas.
Yeah. Amon Bond's the one that inspired us to make that trip.
There you go.
And you took off in 1856, if I remember right.
Right, 1856. Lizzie and I and cousin Henry
That's right.
and Amon Bond. There were four of us in a covered wagon, and we left Kenosha and came to Texas in that covered wagon. And it took us a pretty good while to get here, folks.
That's a pretty rough trip, wasn't it?
Rough territory. The Indians were still pretty wild back in those days, and Comanches in particular. And so we had some scary events and times. And then the weather was a problem too. So it took us about 90 days or so to get here from Kenosha.
Yeah. We followed. We came. There was about 40 of us in 1858.
Right. A couple of years later.
That's right. And y'all already settled at that time down in Stockton.
Yeah. We had settled in the Stockton area, and we think we had found paradise, and we were so delighted. Let me tell you that. That's for sure. Lizzie, I know, was when you guys showed up. To see some familiar faces and more of them. it was a big deal, a real big deal.
It was. You know, we thought we were going to avoid the Civil War.
Right, yeah.
You know,
That's one reason we came to Texas, because we thought Texas would not secede. You know, there was rumors that Texas would not secede because Sam Houston opposed it. Of course, he was the governor, but Texas did secede. Sam Houston lost his office as a result of that, and here we go with the Civil War in 1860.
Well, that's, you know, one thing I know that you was going to want to know is, you know, what y'all do when y'all first came here, you know?
Right,
Well,
exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
in Stockton, that's where we were, and, you know, it was tough times during that Civil War.
Oh yeah,
man.
yeah. All the able-bodied men were gone. They were fighting for the Confederacy during that war. The infirm and those who were not in good health, like you and me,
Yeah.
well, we didn't qualify, needless to say. And so we, along with Uncle Abel, were left behind here to more or less do all that we could to help out the widows and the orphans and the women whose husbands were off to the war. And we spent those next 4 years while the war was raging doing those things in this community to help those who were left behind.
Yeah. You know, we better tell him too, and about that mercantile store that we bought down there in Stockton Bend. That was
Tell him about that. Tell him.
He will. You know, we got together our money. David Lee was in on it.
Yeah, David Lee is our brother.
Yeah, that's right.
Our youngest brother.
That's right. That's right. And we paid $32
$32.
for that business.
Yeah.
But it was in poor shape when we
It
bought
was. It would have sold for $32 otherwise.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy about run it into the ground.
Yeah.
But we started it.
Yeah.
And then he's going to want to know something about this town.
Yes, we got to tell him about how this town came to be known as Granbury.
That's right.
The Texas legislature, for one thing, had already decided that it was going to be named for General Granbury, the hero at Franklin. Was it Franklin where he was killed?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
You know, and so we'll talk to him some about that. You know, there was like 4 other sites that were in contention.
Right. Yeah, tell them who those were. Yeah.
Well, it was Acton, Glen Rose Mills, it was Comanche Peak, and Lambert Branch.
Lambert Branch, which is where you are right now.
That's
folks.
right.
Yeah, where he'll know that this was the Lambert, what was referred to as the Lambert Branch area then.
That's right. And so that was all settled up in about 1871. And so,
well, you know, Uncle put together an independent commission to determine where the county seat would be located. And the independent commission came up with the idea that it would be right here in the Lambert Branch location. And so this would be the county seat and would be named after General Granbury. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And so that's how Granbury came to be created, and its name, Granbury.
That's right. You know, and Uncle Abel, he's not going to ever get the credit that he deserves for having this town located here.
Good point.
You know, I mean, people, he caught a lot of criticism about the fact that we owned the property here in Tommy Lambert, but it was really the best site.
Yeah, but we gave the money, brother.
Yes, we did.
We gave the money, brother, for the town square. We gave the land. We owned that land, and we gave it to the town for the creation of this town square right here. We had the first building that was on the town square. Of course, the old Nutt House, which I understand is probably going to still exist today.
Yeah, it does. Well, you know what? We need to get back together, and we'll talk about this some.
Yeah.
We'll get Ewell in, and we'll give him some more
Give him
information.
some more details, yeah.
And we'll go into.
Well, you know, as long as when he starts writing that book, he tells people about how you and I love the Lord. We preached as itinerant preachers all over this area. We love the Lord. We love this community. We were community activists, community involved, and you know, as a result of that, and all the other great folks who worked with us, we have this great community that these folks are going to be privileged to live in.
I think that's right. We'll do that.
All right, brother, is that it?
That's it.
All right, good deal. Well, there we go.
The Nutt brothers. Okay, that's legendary names. I got to say something right now. These 2 brothers right here, you put them in the legendary category, the Walton brothers. Sir Ralph and Sir Morris Walton, thank you guys so much. God bless you guys. Thank you for what you've done in this town.